What's a nerfer's favorite car? Dodge Dart. In all seriousness, don't buy a Dodge Dart. You deserve better than that. They're complete trash. Like, seriously, don't. Don't. So I recently got a hold of a really silly but surprisingly useful scope. This is the Chewbacca Bowcaster scope. So this is the one that came with the new Bowcaster, the one that came out for episode 7. There's an old Bowcaster from the 90s, but this is part of the new set. The blaster itself is trash. It's just a single shot stringer and it doesn't even have a proper barrel. But this is kind of silly and fun, so I picked one up. Now, you can look through both of these, but obviously you're not meant to do this because, I mean, come on, like if you're running around in a Nerf war or anything and you're actually, you know, like trying to aim like this, I hope you get shot. I hope you like stub your toe, fall on something, break your nose, and just like accidentally just swallow your blaster, because this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So obviously it's not meant to be used that way, right? You're not supposed to look through it with like one scope per eye. So you think, well, then what good is it? Why not just have one scope, right? Well, the thing is, this is an answer I'd never gotten, like not a straight answer at least. Do you actually aim with both eyes open, or do you close one eye? And everybody who is an expert in this field, they'll tell you, keep both eyes open, right? Even like you go to the military, they will tell you, even marksmen, even when you're aiming down a long gun being what we would call a primary. You know, you've got one eye lined up with the sights and you're looking down those sights, don't close the other eye. Keep the other eye open. And it's just so natural to want to close your eye. In fact, I even see military personnel doing that. Not all of them, but definitely more than 50%. An alarming number of military personnel just don't do this correctly. And so the problem is that when you are actually looking at a target, let's say you're looking down the sights with one eye, this is your dominant eye. For me, this is especially obnoxious because my dominant eye is left and I'm right-handed, so that's called cross dominance. So without the use of something exotic like a cripple stock, it's kind of difficult for me to do that. So I have developed another method of doing this. And maybe it's not quite as precise, but it works really well for Nerf and close quarter situations. So normally, like I was saying, you know, you aim down here, and if you're looking at your target, you're not going to be seeing one blaster, right? You're going to be seeing two blasters. Your vision splits and you get these two semi-transparent images that are kind of blurred in front of the target you're paying attention to. So these are called ghost guns. We're obviously going to say ghost blaster here because we're not talking about real guns. So with our ghost blasters, you want to pay attention to one ghost blaster and ignore the other. And that can get really annoying and confusing in the heat of battle. And so a lot of people will close one eye to eliminate that ghost and then just see one solid blaster straight down, and it makes it very easy. But what they're doing is they're sacrificing depth perception. They're also sacrificing field of vision, and to a surprising extent, their ability to judge motion. So you want to leave those eyes open, and you just want to develop that discipline necessary to pay attention to the correct ghost, ignore the other ghost, and just stay on target. But we've got another option here. So when we're looking at handguns, or what we'd call secondaries, you don't necessarily aim down one side or another. So, you know, you've still got a ghost blaster going on, well, two ghost blasters, and you just kind of like sort of align your eye with one or the other, right? But there's a third option. Because it's not resting against one shoulder, because it's actually centered right between your shoulders, there's actually a little bit of dead space right between the two ghost blasters, right? So in theory, if you just aim for that dead space right in between those blasters, that should be where your shot goes, assuming it's actually right in between. So if you put this scope on, you've got these two ghost scopes, and where they overlap, it forms a third scope in the middle, right? So you can imagine that if you are sitting here at a decent distance and if you're sitting here at a decent distance and you're looking at a target down there, you're going to see a 3-scope image. You've got the two binoculars going off in their, with their respective blasters, and then where they meet, that middle scope kind of locks in place, and whatever you see out of that middle scope, out of both of them, that is what you're going to hit. And so you're actually filling that dead space in between the two. Instead of having to guess, it's locking in place for you optically, and you're able to just look straight down that and straight at whatever you're firing at, and you get a surprisingly accurate shot. Now, this is called instinctive shooting rather than shooting off the, I believe it's called sight shooting. So sight shooting is where you actually take aim and you look down the sight and you fire. Whereas instinctive shooting is just kind of bam, not exactly from the hip, but not all the way up here, where you don't actually have sights in front of you. You're just kind of point and aim and go. So this is something in between. This is similar to instinctive shooting because you're not actually using the sights. You're just really quickly like snapping in place. The binoculars lock, and whatever you see out of the center, you hit. And I found it to be quite effective in the sort of close quarters, like not exactly close quarters, like you round a corner, someone's right in your face, like to where within, let's say, one step they'd be in melee range, but where they're closing gaps, like where you're entering a room, they're entering a room, and y'all are maybe 2 or 3 steps away from each other. That's where this is perfect, and you just kind of snap into place and you go. So this is actually worth checking out. I would recommend, if you can get a hold of one of these little binocular scopes, try it out, and you might find that it's quite useful. And I'd like to know what y'all think about aiming this way. I don't know what it's called. I know that aiming with both eyes open versus one eye is called binocular versus monocular vision, but I don't know if aiming for the dead space directly in between the two ghost blasters, if that is actually a thing or if that's frowned upon. I have barely been able to find any information on this. So do y'all do that? Do y'all actually aim in between, or do you aim down one side or another? Do you close one eye? Do you keep both eyes open? Have y'all ever done this with binoculars? Let me know. I'd be interested in seeing if I'm just crazy or if other people feel the same way I do. Before I go, one last thing, one feat of engineering that this makes possible that I never thought would be possible in any situation is that you can actually aim with one of these stupid rebel bows. So here, this is the only scope that works with a rebel bow, because remember, you're not actually looking down the middle of it, you are looking for the dead space in between. So you're seeing 2 ghost bows, you're staying right in the middle of them, and these binoculars are forming that 3rd scope in the middle, and you can actually aim through that. You can see exactly what you're not going to hit because it's one of these stupid rebel bows, and the balance is awful. Everything about it is awful. The prime is awful. You're going to miss. It's going to like, okay, I got it. And then like it's landed in a different time zone because this is just stupid. It's just stupid and they should feel bad. But at least you can pretend you're going to hit something. At least you can look at what you're going to miss so that you know for sure, okay, that target's definitely not down because I could see him in my sights. So I definitely didn't hit him. I might have hit some guy over there, but at least I know that that target is still a threat. So this manages to be useful even on the most useless of blasters. So yeah, better than I expected. Check it out.